Hi, Kevin Coop here, and this is FaceTime with the Content Guy. So longtime readers of Morning Newsbeat will know that I'm a big fan of Jerry Seinfeld's, and especially of his new series, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. And basically this is a web series. It's really only available online, and basically it is a series that, it's another show about nothing, in essence. Basically what happens is Jerry goes out in a car, and he picks the car to be suitable to the person he's picking up. It's usually a comedian, almost always a comedian, and they drive someplace and they drink coffee, and maybe they eat a little bit, and they nosh and they chat and they talk, and that's basically all it is. And one of the things I love about the show is it's really just about good conversation. I love good conversation, and these guys are really good at good conversation. I mean, they're comedians, so they usually are pretty smart. They're always fast on their feet, and they're really, really funny. And so the repartee, the jousting back and forth is just, I think, hysterical. And sometimes it's even a little touching as they talk about their past, their careers. Comedians are a tight-knit bunch, and in a lot of ways it's like inside baseball, but it's a kind of inside baseball that I really, really love. Now, in a New York Times piece last weekend about the show and Jerry Seinfeld, the story said that basically they described the show as free-form conversation with his peers and pals. But they also make the point that the show has allowed Seinfeld, that basically it's helped its creator fit into a post-internet world and a popular culture that could have moved on without him. Now listen, that's absolutely true. Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee has been streamed almost 100 million times. 100 million times people have streamed various episodes of this show. And there's only a half a dozen, 8 episodes per season. It's been running for 6 or 7 seasons. So listen, there's not that many around. 100 million streamings, that's extraordinary. And the shows tend to run 15, 20 minutes, which is longer than Seinfeld was advised in the beginning that anybody would be willing to watch a video on the internet, and yet people obviously do. And I think that's because they're captivated by the content. The other interesting thing about it for me is, in other ways, he ignores sort of, common conventional thinking. And yeah, there are young, hot comedians like Amy Schumer, who's absolutely hysterical. There's people like Tina Fey, but he also has an extended episode where he spends time with Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner. And it's extraordinary because these guys these guys are the gold standard when it comes to comedy. And he clearly just loves these guys and just loves listening to them. These are the people that he really respects a lot because they blaze the way in so many ways for young comedians. And I think that's really what makes the enterprise work, is in so many ways he seems to have ignored conventional wisdom and done the thing that fills him with passion. And that's really, really important and a great business lesson. Sometimes you have to ignore conventional wisdom and do the thing that you feel, that you feel in your gut is absolutely going to work. Now, the thing is, he knows a lot about putting on a hit show, right? This is the second time he's done it. Seinfeld was obviously an enormous hit and a game-changing hit for so much of television, and yet in so many ways it ignored the conventions of traditional situation comedy. And I think again, he's proven that you don't always have to do things the same way as everybody else. The other interesting point that Seinfeld makes in the Times interview is that it's hard for comedians actually to learn from each other, that comedians tend to walk sort of a singular road. And while there are always going to be some parallels, basically it's hard for him to look at, George Carlin or Chris Rock or Rodney Dangerfield and say, oh, I can learn from how they developed their careers. I should do it the same way. There is no same way. It's important to kind of, carve out an individual path. Again, I think a great business lesson. Too many companies out there saying, oh, I'm going to do things the way everybody else has done them because that's a more assured way to get success. That's not always the case. Listen, and I think one of the other interesting things, and one of the things that makes a show his hit, is something that Seinfeld's friends said about him to the Times. They said there's some irreducible part of him that craves reinvention and untried experiences. And he knows, he's very aware of the fact that you have to constantly reinvent yourself if you're going to be relevant to new audiences. And I think, listen, that's a good lesson for any business. And one of the other things Seinfeld says in this interview, which I think is really, really important, he says, the less you know about a field, the better your odds. Dumb boldness is the best way to approach a new challenge. You know, in my view, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this Thursday morning. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.